Hello guys, good evening. This is Dr. Pooja and I welcome you to my another YouTube session on tissue. That's another interesting topic if we talk about, biology from ninth standard, right? Um, just a second. I'm just checking whether we are all live and it is streaming fine. Okay, give me a moment to check the same, and if that is done, then I'll start explaining and discussing this topic in more details. I just want to check like whether it's working or not. Okay, hold on for a second, please. Okay, so yes, we are on live. So let me go ahead and start discussing about this topic. Okay, so all right. So guys, today's topic is just like my last topic of discussion was your the fundamental unit of life, which is cell. Okay, so this today I will be talking about like what next, what after cell. Now we know all about cell, so what is next? Okay, so for that we have hold on, let me pick in color. Okay, so that is why we will be discussing tissue, which is like after cell, what is next. Okay, so we'll be going to this more into details for this, and that is why I have picked this topic, because there are different tissue which are there in your syllabus. We have plant tissue, animal tissue, and all those things. So to cover that, I just picked this topic. Okay, hold on. Okay, so before I get into the details, a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Pooja, and guys, I have done PhD in biotechnology, and I have 8 years of experience as a scientist and lab director in United States. Now I'm back here in India, and I will be talking more about, I will be teaching you guys science on Educator, on Unacademy's Educator app, or you can watch all my videos on Unacademy's app. All right, and I'm also an online fitness trainer, so I take many special classes to take care of your health and fitness, not just the physical health but also your mental health, how to deal with this exam stress or study stress. I know many of you have the same level of stress, so I would help you guys to deal with that in my special classes. So if you want to get benefit of those special classes, you can always go to Unacademy's platform, and you can always, apart from the academics, you can have a well developed yourself by just watching our sessions, which are free sessions, special sessions on Unacademy's platform. Okay, but how to do that? So first of all, we have options like plus subscription. Here what you can do is you can subscribe for the complete batch courses, but now as this is has come to an end, this session, so what you can do is you can go ahead and sign up for the upcoming sessions. All right, so we have live classes for all the subjects. We have weekly quiz, we have doubt clearing sessions, practice questions, test series. So these are the options that you can avail when you sign up for the batch courses or for the plus courses. All right, so here is like you don't have to go anywhere. You can learn from the comfort of your home. You have unlimited access to all the notes that we share with you. Everything will be available for you guys to use. Okay, and just a second. I'm not getting any. It is not just in English. We have both in Hindi and English, though you can be part of our, plus. Okay, and So here is the list of upcoming batches yet that you can avail. All right. And here is the fee structure. You must be interested in that, like what are the monthly charges, what are the yearly charges, 3 yearly charges. So this is what you can use. And if you want to go for 4 years, like 48 months, 40,000 is the charge. And not only this, you can get a 10% discount if you use my code, which is PS13. Okay, so there are various good options with discounted rates, not for just your academic development, as I'm saying again and again. This is also good for your overall development, as we take many special classes. Okay, so you can also take your K2 subscription. So here are the details. If you want, you can go ahead and explore Unacademy's app or Unacademy site to know more about it. And this was quickly about how we educators take care of yourself at Unacademy's platform, how Unacademy itself take care of you guys, right? So with that said, now I will be focusing more into the topic. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's crack it, guys. Okay, so one last time, I'm telling you my code. If you want, you can use this code to take extra 10% discount on your subscription. Okay, so with that, here is the blank sheet for you guys to learn from me all about tissue. Before we get into the details of tissue, we should understand what is tissue, why we directly jumped from cell to tissues. What are tissues? What do we see when we talk about tissue? What we call what the tissues are? Okay, so our first point is, what is a tissue, right? Cell we understand, right? That is the basic unit, the fundamental unit of life. But what is tissue? That is the next important question that should come to your mind, right? So as we all know, we are all made up of cells, right? Let's say this is a cell with the nucleus. So if this is a cell with the nucleus, now we also know by this time there are different kind of organisms. We have unicellular organisms and we have multicellular organisms. Okay, so unicellular organisms, they are made up of only one cell. Multicellular are made up of many cells. Okay, so now here is the point that I want to discuss with you. The unicellular organisms, all the functions are carried out by one cell only. It has mitochondria, it has Golgi bodies, right? It has lysosomes and all other things. Lysosomes, it has your endoplasmic reticulum. All these organelles, they perform different functions, right? And that is why this one cell is able to survive, right? But how about multicellular organism? In multicellular organism, there is, you have to remember this term, division of labor. Okay, so what is division of labor? When we assign some work to some group of, let's say, people, and they perform their own function, that is called division of labor. Division of labor is also there in unicellular organism, as every organelle is performing a different function, like mitochondria is energy house, Golgi bodies for transportation and packaging, endoplasmic reticulum for the production of more proteins and lipids, lysosomes is the clearing of like excretion or clearing of the waste material. So this is what we call division of labor. But in multicellular organisms, Yes, of course, cell at its own level is doing all these functions, but in multicellular organisms, different cells, they perform different functions. Okay, this is what you have to remember. So that is where we have this term tissue that originates from. Okay, so technically, what tissue is? Technically, let me change the color quickly for you guys. Okay, so that it is more clear to you. So tissue is one, you have to remember, is group of cells, right? More than one cell is present in tissue. Group of cells almost same. I guess my picture will be there in the way. Almost same structure or similar looking. And third, performing a unique function, right? So I will write it again for you guys, right? So let's say what tissue is. Tissue is basically group of cells, similar structure and properties, not identical, almost same, okay, performing a unique function is called tissue, right? This is what we call tissue. So from here I will be talking about what are the different types of tissue present. Okay, so let's write it over here. When we talk about tissues, we generally talk about under two categories: plant tissue, animal tissue, right? So I will first cover this topic, plant tissue, all about plant tissue. Okay, so and later on we'll do animal tissue. Okay, so but quickly I will make a flow chart on the next page for you guys, how we do this classification, plant tissue, guys. Okay, so when we do plant tissue, we have meristematic, and permanent. Okay, we have meristematic plant tissue and we have permanent plant tissue. So under meristematic you have apical meristem, you have lateral meristem, and you have intercalary meristem. Okay, so this particular sheet will tell you a flow chart kind of a thing. Okay, I will be explaining all these in my upcoming slides, but this one is a quick flow chart kind of representation of things. Okay, under permanent we have further two classes: simple permanent and complex permanent. Okay, so when we have simple permanent, this one is further divided into, it has 3 more categories. Let me explain what those categories are. let me pick a color for you. Under simple, you have parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Okay, so this is the type of simple tissue, simple permanent plant tissue. And when we talk about complex, we talk about xylem and we talk about phloem. All right, so this is a quick flow chart of all the plant tissue: meristematic, permanent, under meristematic apical, lateral, intercalary. Then under permanent you have simple and you have complex. Under simple you have parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and under complex you have xylem and phloem. Okay, so this is quickly all about the different plant tissue type that we will discuss in this video. Okay, so I will pick one by one. First we will start with your meristematic. Second we will do your simple, permanent, and third we will talk about complex permanent. All right, so here we go. My next slide, just a second. I love changing different colors for you. So okay guys, so from that slide we have learned that we have simple, we have meristematic and under meristematic we have three types: apical, lateral, intercalary. Right, so this is what we will discuss under meristematic. But guys, first of all we need to understand this thing: what are meristematic cells or what is meristematic tissue? So meristematic tissue is the one which is living and it has the capacity to divide. Okay, so meristematic tissue are the ones which are always dividing, right? Those type of tissue we call them meristematic tissue. So now in meristematic tissue, if they are living and if they are dividing, what would be the characteristic of those tissue? A, they are, as I said, they are living. They have prominent nucleus, which means that nucleus is active. B, they have thick cytoplasm. Thick cytoplasm means, that means because this tissue are actively dividing. Because they are dividing, they are making more protein, they are making more substance for the next cell. Okay, because they are dividing into the new cells, right? They have thick cytoplasm. There is no thickenings present. Means they are, let's say, thin walled cells. Okay, and as I said, they are no vacuoles present, right? So these are the couple of properties of meristematic tissue. Now this is we divide it in properties. That is part 1. Part 2 is depending upon their location, right? So that was the first, and this is over here is second. Just a second. So depending upon their location, we have apical, as the name suggests, at the tip of the root or tip of the shoot. Okay, lateral on the sides. I would explain like how intercalary at the nodes. Okay, so this is what I have to explain now. So now let's say, guys, we have a seed and we plant a seed. What will happen to that seed? Let's say I have this seed, right? So when this seed starts growing, when the seed starts germinating, right? So when it germinates, this kind of structure we see, right? So that means now as it has this new shoot, it has to grow in length, right? It has to grow in length. Similarly, what happens is, let me change the color. We have a small structure which starts growing inside the ground. Okay, we call it root, and this one over here we call it shoot. Okay, so where is the apical meristem present? That is our next question. Our apical meristem is present at the tip of the root and tip of the shoot, because apical meristem helps in the length. Okay, when apical meristem is present, our plant will grow in its height and the roots will grow inside the ground. Okay, so that is all because of presence of your apical meristem over here. Okay, so it is present at the tip. Now guys, you have to understand this thing. This plant will not keep on growing just upwards. It will not just keep on growing upwards, right? It has to grow in its diameter. So that means there must be something present on the sides, right? So the meristem means the dividing tissue which is present on the sides and which helps in, this is apical and this helps in its length, right? This is lateral and this helps in its girth. Girth means diameter. Okay, so this is present on the sides over here, right? So as the plant grows, it increases its diameter. Okay, so that is your lateral meristem. So now third point is there. It is not just the plants will keep on growing in its length and in its diameter. It will also make some shoots or branches, right? So for that you have this intercalary meristem which is present at the nodes. So if I explain this diagram as it is given in your NCERT books as well, so quickly I will show how exactly it would look like. So it shows something like this, right? The one present over here is your, I will name it later. Just a second. Okay, so right, its branches and all those things. So this is all about meristematic tissue. Okay, Meristematic tissue, we divided it into three major categories: apical, lateral, intercalary. Apical is for length, lateral is for the height, the girth, the diameter. Intercalary is for, like at present, at the nodes, for shoots and branches. Okay, so this was all about your meristematic tissue. Now second thing comes is permanent tissue, guys. Okay, so meristematic tissue is the one which is always dividing and dividing. Okay, but once those tissue are dividing, they are making new cells, new tissue will be formed. But that new tissue, what is it doing? What is its function? So for that, to explain that, I will have to draw a little diagram for you. Give me a second and I will draw it for you. So now let's say this is your tip of the shoot, right? And it is producing, this is apical meristem, let's say that. It keeps on dividing and dividing and dividing, and it keeps on making new cells, right? It divides and it makes new cells. But what these cells are doing, these new cells, what these cells are doing, right? So these cells are after the division from apical meristem, and they don't have the power to divide. But what is the function of these tissue, or this, I'm sorry, they all have nucleus. Don't think that they are without nuclei, right? So what is the function? I mean, what are they doing? They undergo a process called differentiation. What is differentiation? Differentiation is the process where the simple cells, they undergo certain changes to attain a unique function. Okay, and they don't have the capability to divide further. Okay, they undergo differentiation, their structure changes, their function changes, everything changes over the period of time. Okay, so that means meristematic tissue they keep on dividing and they make new cells after division, and those new cells undergo differentiation. These undergo, where did my marker go? And they form your permanent tissue, right? So this is what I will be talking about. What are the different types of permanent tissue? Okay, I'm talking about everything about, you know, plant tissue. We have not touched animal tissue yet. Okay, so yes, another point to remember. Now we have came to the point, like after differentiation we get permanent tissue. Now this permanent tissue is having two types: simple and complex, right? Now, what is the simple and complex permanent tissue? Let's understand this real quick. Simple means, as we all know, tissue is made up of group of cells. Means there are many cells present, right? That is what we call tissue. Tissue is group of cells. So if all the cells they are of almost same structure, right? If they are almost of same structure, not a huge difference in their structure, right? They have all nuclei. This is called simple permanent. All the cells have similar structure, right? They all almost look same. In complex permanent, of course, this is also a type of tissue, which means it will be made up of multiple cells. So again, if it is made up of multiple cells, some cells are going to be elongated. Some cells are with the nucleus, of course. Some cells are going to be spindle formed, right? Some cells are going to be in the form of, let's say, plates. Okay, some cells are, let's say, in the form of fibers. So this is what we call complex. You see, all the cells are different. You see that here, right? They are all different. We have 1, 2, 3 and all 4, almost 4. It is a very rough picture, rough diagram to make the point clear to you. Okay, so this is your complex permanent tissue. Complex permanent tissue, right? So now in my next slide, I will be talking about what is simple permanent tissue and what is complex permanent tissue. What are their different types? What are their different functions? So let's cover that. Okay. Simple. Now we have simple permanent tissue that we will be talking about. They are simple means all cells are same. They are permanent means they do not divide. They have undergone differentiation. Tissue because it's a group of cell. Okay, so this is how I have divided this name into these 3 different types, right? So now let's talk about what are the different types of simple permanent tissue, right? Simple permanent tissue, as in my previous slides I said, we have parenchyma, we have collenchyma, and we have, I will write it over here, sclerenchyma. Okay, so these are the 3 different permanent tissue. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about parenchyma first. So their characteristics are, they are cells which are living. They are having large spaces between them, and they are used for storage. Okay, and I will explain how these parenchyma tissue they will look like. Collenchyma, on the other hand, and they don't have no deposits on the walls. Okay, so here we have collenchyma. They are closely packed, just like parenchyma. They were, as I said, have large spaces between them. Okay, they are closely packed, no large spaces. They give some kind of mechanical support to the plants. Basically, they are present at the leaf stalks. Okay, they gives mechanical support and flexibility, and they have deposits at the angles or certain areas, specific areas, right? Then we have sclerenchyma. They are dead, right? They have lignin deposits all over the place. Once I draw the picture for you guys, then it will be more clear. Then they have, of course, lignin deposits are there. They are closely packed. So if they are dead and closely packed, have lignin deposits, that means they give protection to the plant parts. For example, they are present as a seed coating. Okay, you know, seed coating in case of nuts and all, it's like really hard. So that is because of sclerenchyma. So now let's quickly draw these three. Then it will make more sense to you. Okay, so let me change the color. So parenchyma cells, these are large cells with large gaps. This is the transverse section. Okay, so if I do the transverse section, this is how it looks like. If I do the longitudinal section, this is how it will look like. Okay, they have nucleus. Of course, all the cells will have nucleus. And as you see, there are living cells, large spaces between them. There are no deposits you can see on the walls, right? If we talk about collenchyma, of course, they are also little bit of spaces. They are little tightly packed. Right? And the point that you have to remember is, and here is their longitudinal section with the nucleus, of course. And if I talk about it, they have lignin deposits only on the sides. It is not present everywhere, only at certain points. So they are having these deposits only at certain points, which means they give little bit of mechanical support and flexibility to the plant parts where they are present. Now if we talk about sclerenchyma, see, these are the cells and these are dead. They are very tightly packed. They don't have any empty spaces between them as we have in parenchyma. So now is the thing that you have to see closely. They have these deposits all over the place, guys. They have this lignin deposits all over the place. Okay, this red thing is that lignin deposit, and because of this deposition, they are really dead cells, and they are really hard and protective in nature. Right? So this is the difference between parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. And guys, yes, if we are talking about, let's say, parenchyma, if they have green colored substance, chlorophyll for example, right, we call them chlorenchyma. These are the variations, chlorenchyma. In some of the parenchymatous tissue, they have large air spaces, and we call them parenchyma, right? So this is the variation for parenchyma, right? So now if we have almost covered the parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Now let's move on to the next type, which is your complex permanent tissue. So now this is complex permanent tissue. We know that why we named it complex permanent tissue, because they are made up of more than one type of cell or cells, right? They are called permanent because they do not divide. They don't have the capacity to divide. And tissue, because it's a group of cells, they are performing some kind of unique function, right? Now, depending upon this, basically, the unique function that they are performing, we have divided complex permanent tissue into two major categories. And these two categories are xylem and phloem, right? Xylem, this function is transportation of water in plants. Phloem, transportation of food in plants. So depending upon these two properties, this is the unique function. Xylem is basically for water, phloem is basically for food. Now, as I said, these are called complex permanent tissue. Why? Because they are made up of different type of cells, right? So what are the different type of cells that make up the xylem and phloem? Let's quickly discuss that. Okay. First of all, take some other color. First of all, let's talk about xylem. Okay, so xylem is what we have: tracheids, then we have vessels, then we have xylem parenchyma, and then we have xylem fibers, right? So these are the four different, as I said, because it's complex, so it will have more than one type of cell. Okay, so tracheids, vessels, and parenchyma, xylem fibers. So now let's quickly talk about these, and then later I will talk about phloem. All right, guys. So tracheids and vessels. Okay, tracheids and vessels, they are having where is my cursor, thick walls, and they become dead when they are mature. Okay, they are of tubular structure because they are tubes, because they have to carry water. Okay, they are thick walled, tracheids and vessels. Then comes, and they are basically for the transportation of water. They are basically carrying water in plants. Okay, so then we have xylem parenchyma. So xylem parenchyma, as we have discussed about parenchyma, their main function is to storage of food. Okay, because the xylem tissue, they also need food, right? So xylem parenchyma. And third, we have xylem fibers. What is their role? They are mainly supportive in function. Okay, so guys, this is all about xylem and all different type of cells in xylem: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Okay, so if I want to draw quickly tracheids, I will draw it on next page. So I will draw your tracheids. So this is kind of tracheid. They are three-dimensional structures. Then you have your vessels. So these are vessels that I've drawn. They have small pits on them. They do have pits. When you go into your higher classes, you will learn more about it, like what is the function of pits, why there are different kind of pits present. Okay, and then you have these parenchyma. Parenchyma, as I said, storage of food, right? They have nucleus, and then you will also have fibers for support. Okay, so this is a typical xylem tissue, right? Here we have tracheids, and these are vessels, xylem parenchyma, and you have fibers, right? So this was quickly about how a typical cross section for xylem would look like. Okay, now let's take your, because that is also a complex permanent tissue. Phloem for food. Remember this. Okay, we have phloem for food. How do we do this? And this is made up of, as xylem is made up of 4 type of different cells or group of cells or tissue, phloem is made up of 5 types. What are those 5 types? Okay, just a second. We have sieve cells, we have sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Okay, so these are the 5 type of different type of cells which are present in phloem. Okay, so let's quickly talk about these. So sieve cells, and sieve tubes, these are kind of, you know, your perforated walls, cells with perforated walls. Okay, then except for phloem fibers, just this one in this case is dead, and rest all, these are all living. Okay, all 4 are living. Only phloem fiber is dead. As if we go back there, when we talked about xylem, tracheids and vessels, they become dead later, and then we have parenchyma, which is living, but here in this case fiber is dead and rest all are living. So quickly I would love to draw a phloem tissue for you. So let's do that. So here what we have, so guys, also, like, if this kind of question is there in your examination, then definitely they will be looking for like how well you are drawing, because this tissue is all about, biology is all about, you know, diagrams, and I would strongly encourage you guys to be good at the diagrammatical part of it. Try to draw the diagrams when you are, you know, studying biology. As I said, diagrams, they play a very important role. Okay, right, so we have this. Then I'll take another color. And then we have over here guys, please don't mind these gaps. So this is a typical phloem tissue, how it would look like. Let's label this diagram quickly. So here is your sieve plate. This is your sieve tube. It's a phloem parenchyma. These are companion cells. Alright guys, so this is all about how a phloem would look like, right? So guys, today we have talked about meristematic tissue, permanent tissue, under meristematic, apical, lateral and intercalary. Under permanent, we have talked about simple permanent and complex permanent. For simple permanent, there was parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. And for complex permanent, we talked about your phloem and xylem. Okay, so this was all about plant tissue, and I would definitely love to cover animal tissue in a separate video, because I don't want to mix these two together. I want to make it very clear, very understandable to you. All right, so guys, with this I will end today's session, and if you would want to learn more about animal tissue, stay tuned. And also you can always go ahead and sign up for batch courses on Unacademy's platform. We have batch courses, we have special classes, we have YouTube classes. So we have a lot for you guys to learn from. So here is my code PS13 for extra 10% discount if you would want to go ahead and sign up for any of the courses. All right, with that said, I would end this session. You guys have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much and take care. Bye-bye.